Oh my God, it's so bad.
Destination X, new Tuesday on NBC and Peacock.
That breaking news from Whittier tonight, where dozens of protesters were outside the DoubleTree Hotel where they think ICE agents are staying. We have not confirmed if that is true, but police are there. They have cleared most of the protesters out, but you can still see some left over. We will have a live report coming up from Eliana Moreno shortly. Good evening, everyone. I'm Kathy Vara in for Carolyn Johnson tonight. Now, this is happening as night 2 of a curfew in downtown LA is in effect until 6 a.m. We saw arrests just after that curfew went into effect. And tonight, a standoff with police just 5 miles away in Koreatown. NBC4's Robert Kovacic is there. And Robert, are these people who made the trek from downtown LA, or is this a separate protest altogether?
As you were just tossing to me, Kathy, a gentleman was just telling me that he was one of the people that made his way 4.7 miles from downtown Los Angeles to right here where we're standing, because the protests have now made their way to Koreatown. And though this intersection, this popular intersection at Western and Beverly, this busy intersection is empty, the LAPD just leaving, this is some of the evidence that is left behind, the foam batons that were fired onto this crowd. We understand dispersal orders were given. We heard that. And as you take a look at some video, you see the confrontation that was had here between those protesters who left the curfew zone and then made their way here. And then finally, there was a standoff and a skirmish line with members of the LAPD. This continued till just about 10:45 tonight, when members of Metro PD came down and said, everybody needs to get out. Everybody needs to get out now. And we don't believe we saw any arrests here in Koreatown tonight, but certainly they dispersed, and they dispersed quickly. But we do want to take you now back to the curfew zone if we can. This is just after 8 o'clock. As soon as the curfew started tonight, about a dozen people you see there outside of Superior Court. This would be on the streets surrounding Hill and First. Suddenly, LAPD officers in riot gear, one by one, these people were taken into custody, and these protesters were taken into custody without incident. Now, again, this is within the curfew zone, and from what we witnessed, and we drove around tonight, at least around the Civic Center, it was fairly quiet. Law enforcement spotted on just about every corner, but the streets surrounding City Hall pretty much empty of pedestrians. And so this was a far different cry than it was about an hour and a half before the curfew began. Let us show you this video right now, truly an abrupt departure, if you will. We were on the ground as a protest in Pershing Square calling for the end of what they described as the military occupation of Los Angeles. That protest then moved from Hill and Fifth, heading up north on Hill. And then that march of roughly, I would say, about 500 plus people was joined by another group that included cars, and they all headed to the Civic Center. And there at Temple and Spring, just about 6:30 tonight, things did get a little harried. Reports of rocks and bottles being thrown at police officers there. But again, most of them dispersed the curfew zone around 8 o'clock tonight, heeding warnings especially earlier today from LA County District Attorney Nathan Hochman, who announced more than a dozen people have been charged so far with grand theft, vandalism, and assaulting police officers since these protests began. And he says it will continue. Listen.
The people who engage in that illegal conduct will be prosecuted. They will first be arrested, they will be prosecuted, and they will be punished to the full extent of the law. We have said this repeatedly. We've said this as a warning to people who are thinking about conducting these illegal acts, pretending that they are engaged in protests, but at the moment they engage in the illegal acts, they are no longer legitimate First Amendment protesters. They are criminals, and they will be prosecuted as criminals.
So again, this is not the place we expected to be tonight on day 2 of the curfew. We are in Koreatown. We are at Western and Beverly. And again, this protest now showing that it will move out of the curfew zone if necessary. And tonight it ended up here